Water covers 71% of the Earth's surface and is vital to our daily lives. It can also be a clean, renewable, reliable source of electricity. Hydroelectric energy comes from capturing the force of moving water that's in our Earth's rivers and oceans. We do this by using the movement of the water to spin hydraulic turbines. That generates kinetic energy, which is converted to electricity through a generator and then sent to the power grid. Most hydropower is generated from dams built on rivers and streams, often where there's a big drop in elevation, so gravity can help us out. Dams block the water's natural flow and force it through a large pipe with the turbine and generator, before releasing it back into the stream on the other side of the dam. Today we know that dams, most of which were built before the 1960s here in the US, can disrupt river ecosystems. There haven't been less than new hydro plants built in the US in a few decades, but some existing dams are beginning to be tapped for their electricity generating potential, and existing hydro facilities are being upgraded to be less harmful to plants, fish, and wildlife. This helps us get the electricity we need by protecting the natural environment around us. Today I want to talk about water and the law that surrounds drinking water, to talk about its quality, talk about what your rights are to clean water, to also give you a sense of what key threats are to drinking water, what your exposure might be, and what we might to do about it, both legally but also personally. Water is a critical component of our environment and our bodies. Your body is close to 70% water. You can go for several weeks, 2 or 3 on average, without food. You can only go for about 4 minutes without air. And you can go for maybe 4 or 5 days without water before you die. So water is absolutely critical. And one of the key arguments I want to make today is that it's largely neglected area of environmental law, given the rapid increase in our knowledge about chemical threats to water quality and where those threats come from. Hey, Jeff, have you been to the new library yet? Oh, hi, Jane. Yes, I went last week to check it out. I really like it. Yes, I like it too. I like the study areas. There seemed to be a lot of room to just spread out and focus on the books. It's way better than the old library where it seemed like we're all jammed into one area. Sometimes it was even hard to find a spot to study because it was so crowded, especially during exams. I have liked the chairs at the new place. They're super comfy. You're right. The only bad thing about it is that it's pretty far away. It takes me about 20 minutes to get there by bus. So I can see myself not going all the way downtown. If I'm in a pinch for time, I'd probably just stay in residence and study there. I was thinking that too. It's too bad. It takes so long to get there. I don't like being dependent on the buses. Have you tried riding your bike there? It might take a little longer, but at least you're getting a bit of exercise. That's a good idea. Jen. Maybe I'll try riding this week. I just have to make sure I'm good and rested. Sometimes when I'm overtired, I'm not too coordinated. Knowing me, I'd have a load of books on my backpack and get distracted by something and crashed my bike. Well, you've just got to keep an eye out for those potholes. Oh, wow, look at the time. I've got to get to my next class. I'll see you around. Jeff, good talking to you. Jen, I'll be seeing you. Have you ever wanted to turn down the volume at a deafening concert or noisy bar? Envy the whale. A new study finds that toothed whales can reduce their own auditory sensitivity when they expect a loud sound. The work is presented at this week's Acoustics 2012 meeting. Whales and dolphins rely on their responsive hearing to interpret returning echolocation clicks. Previous research suggested that these marine mammals could dull their hearing before uttering outgoing echolocation clicks, which are very loud. Could they use the same coping mechanism for external noises? To find out, researchers trained a false killer whale that a signal. Then, they attached suction cup. Loud noise would always follow a brief warning. Measured sensors to the outside of the whale's head and played the signal. The sensor's brain waves that indicated the whale did reduce its hearing sensitivity in expectation of a clamor. The researchers hope to test other species as well. Loud noises from ships can disturb whales. To accommodate marine life, perhaps vessels could emit signals before making a ruckus, warning whales to tune us out. Along the way, we have been runner-up in the prestigious United Nations World Unashamedly Beautiful Buildings, 2 of which have won an Habitat Award, the first time in concepts of Australian building has received that international honour. We rely on older Australian architecture that are heavily influenced by the bush. All residents have private verandas which allow them to socialise outdoors and also create some defensible space between their bedrooms and public areas. We use a lot of natural or soft materials and build beautiful landscaped gardens. Lawrence Stephen Lowry RBSRA was an English artist. Many of his drawings and paintings depict Pendlebury, Lancashire, where he lived and worked for more than 40 years, and also Salford and its surrounding areas. Lowry is famous for painting scenes of life in the industrial districts of northwest England in the mid-20th century. He developed a distinctive style of painting and is best known for his city landscapes peopled with human figures often referred to as Matchstick Man. He painted mysterious unpopulated landscapes, brooding portraits and the unpublished marionette works, which were only found after his death. It seems to me that architecture is pretty much something that causes us both pleasure and trouble. I live in the part of Western London I think many of the streets are really ugly, and this distresses me every time when I walk to a supermarket or walk to the tube. I do not understand why they built those buildings without architecture. A bad building has a serious impact on the people around it, which could be hundreds of years. It lasted so long, and if you write a bad book or a bad play, I will be shocked when it was shown. Suppose the book arose a little bit from the frustration, and then I realize if you talk about architecture, you will say why building are not more beautiful. Then you will say I can use such work as beauty, which is a really arrogant word. And no one knows what beautiful is. It's all in the eye of the beholder. I couldn't help but think about that actually. Well, you know that we all attempt to agree that Rome is nice than Mill Kickings, and San Francisco has the edge of Frankfurt, so we can make that sort of generalization. Surely they are something we can say about why a building works or why it doesn't. So the books really attempt to suggest why architecture works when it does and what might go wrong when it doesn't work. Listen to part of a lecture and answer the questions. Okay, now let's talk about handball violations. I bet you all know that you aren't supposed to use your hands when you play soccer. It is called a handball violation. You cannot touch any part of the ball with your hands unless you're a goalkeeper. Only the goalkeeper can touch the ball with his hands. A handball violation includes using any part of the body from the finger to the shoulders. Until here. This is all you know. Now I want to ask you some questions. First, picture the situation in the middle of a game. A player kicks the ball and the ball touches the hand of the opposite team player, but he didn't touch it intentionally. Now, is it a handball violation? I want you to think about it. Here goes another question. What if the kicker did that intentionally? Is it a handball violation? Cells cannot remain alive outside certain limits of temperature. In much narrow limits mark the boundaries of effective functioning. Enzyme systems of mammals and birds are most efficient only within a narrow range around 37 degrees centigrade. A departure of a few degrees from this value seriously impairs their functioning. Even though cells can survive wider fluctuations, the integrated actions of bodily systems are impaired. Other animals have a wider tolerance for changes of bodily. Modern humans are masters of multitasking. We eat while driving, watch TV while studying, and of course talk on our cell phones while doing, well, everything. How do we do it? A study in the July 16th issue of Neuron suggests that though we can train our brains to work faster as we juggle, we never actually manage to do more than one thing at a time. Our brains aren't really built to handle the sort of parallel processing we think we're capable of. The good news is, studies have shown that extensive training can make us better at doing less than two things at once. But how? One theory is that with lots of practice some routines become automatic. And if we don't need to run every little thing past the part of the brain that spends time thinking about stuff, we can multitask just fine. But this new study finds that that's not the way it works. Turns out that multitaskers still consult the prefrontal cortex, but training gets the thinking brain to think a little faster. So we're actually switching tasks quickly enough to appear to be doing them simultaneously. Which is still nothing to shake a stick and sneeze at. Scientists discover new species all the time, on the order of 15,000 a year. One of the latest additions to the tree of life is a new type of leopard frog. Which might sound unremarkable, except for where it was found, New York City. But how does a frog go unnoticed, in the Big Apple? Well, even experts have a hard time telling this new species from its northern and southern cousins on looks alone. But the new guy has a different croak, which raised ecologists' suspicions. So they tracked down 4 leopard frog populations with a unique call, including one within view of the Statue of Liberty, and took DNA samples. As they suspected, the odd croakers weren't southern or northern leopard frogs, or even a mix. They had a genetic ancestry of their own, earning them new species status. Those results appear in the journal Molecular Phylogenetics and Evolution. The frogs are tough New Yorkers. The center of their range appears to be Yankee Stadium. But the researchers say that the urban amphibians face threats like pesticides and infectious diseases. Not to mention real-life games of Frogger. Student union members can significantly influence university policy changes. The seminar offers opportunities to exchange and discuss ideas with peers. To ensure clarity and avoid unnecessary repetition, it's important to be concise. This course provides students with practical experience relevant to the industry.